I'm Haley from Gallifrey Public Radio, a Doctor Who fandom podcast and part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The Intellectual Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to the Intellectual Podcast. I'm your host, David S. Dawson, and sitting with me today is my usual co-host,
Whitney Wegman-Wood.
And we are at Hangar B Studios today with Kimmy and Tyler. And we're going to talk to them about WOMAS, which is nearing completion, finally. For those of you who don't know what WOMAS is, it's Women Making a Scene, correct?
That is correct.
What can you tell us about the competition and how it kind of all came about?
Well, Women Making a Scene is an international film competition that requires all submitting teams to have a woman in a leadership role, and we categorize that as a writer, producer, or director. They submit one scene from a feature concept that they hope to make, and along with a pitch video, and they submit that in, and someone's gonna win and hopefully make their film in its entirety.
Okay.
Definitely make their film
in
its entirety.
They're gonna do it.
So now you said this is an international competition. Is this something that you guys are in collaboration with, or this was your brainchild?
Oh, it's our brainchild. Yeah.
Wow. So from here, how did you make it? How did it become international?
I think we always intended it to be international. We wanted to make a splash. It's the whole idea of it is inclusion, and we want to reach as many people as possible. And the more people involved, the easier it is to make a change. And that's hopefully what we're going to be doing with this. And we got a lot of response from all over the world, which is really amazing.
Yeah, we had registrations from 21 different countries, including like Ghana and Ecuador and lots of different places.
Wow.
So I guess I meant more like in a logistical sense. Like, how do you get the word out there? Like, how does it become international, or is there...
Slowly. Facebook is definitely in part responsible for that. In the beginning of it, like it's kind of like the grassroots sort of marketing stuff we were doing, and then we ended up getting a little bit heavier into Instagram as well, and having been fortunate enough to have a couple people who have a lot of eyes on them and sharing our content and really supporting and believing in what we're doing. So it started with just us joining a lot of groups and posting the video and kind of letting people know what we're about. And I think there's a lot of noise out there in general with things like this. So it took a little bit of time for the ball to get rolling, but then people could see that like we were engaging with people and coming from a genuine place and actually trying to foster community. And then, it kind of took off from there.
How long did you guys talk about it before actually moving into making it a real thing?
A long time.
I think I brought it up in February. I said March earlier, and Kimmy thinks it's February of last year.
Yeah.
And then we started putting action into it not until like October.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we just didn't really do anything else for a while because it was just really exciting to us.
Yeah, because I've off and on talked with, my filmmaking friends about, hey, we should do a competition, we should do this, we should do that, and it never seems to go anywhere. So when I saw you guys launching this thing, I was like, oh, look at that!
Yeah,
out of the blue, here's a competition launching. It's not a film consortium thing or a 48-hour thing or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a completely ground up.
Yeah, it's really helpful to have a community like the filmmakers in San Diego who are really into that, where film competitions are kind of their thing, and some people just come out to participate in those. So I think that the interest was already being fostered in the community, so that was really helpful to helping it grow.
Yeah, that helped a lot with the international stuff too, is that they saw people from the place that we were from signing up early, like in the first week or two, and that helped us get the ball rolling for sure.
So now, as far as whomever is the winner, are you guys going to help kind of coach them and guide them through their movie making, or is it just like, here you go?
We're going to give them as much support as we can without having them feel like we're taking any kind of ownership over their film. We have no rights to this film whatsoever. We'll help connect any kind of dots. We'll help, any questions they have. I'll tell you, like, of these semifinalist filmmakers, there's a lot of them that I wouldn't even want to give advice to, like some just incredible films. So we'll be there to support in whatever way we can. And hopefully that's connecting them with, either people that can make things happen in Hollywood or otherwise moving forward. We really like to get enough eyes on this to where, like, it can't be ignored by the big studios and the big streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of one of the ideas from its inception, is not having any, ownership over the winning film, because our main purpose is just to get more representation and female perspective out there and get those stories listened to. And it's their own artistic projects that need to be seen. And we're just kind of here to help make that happen.
Yeah, you talk about getting their perspectives in the films. With the mandate of, it's women making a scene, did you find that the stories that were being told more kind of greatly reflected like a female empowerment type story, or was it more broad than that in what was chosen to be shot?
That's a good question. We never said it had to be about
and I
women
noticed
empowerment.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Did you find making the requirement a woman in a commanding position translated into more stories about that?
I think probably about 60% of them ended up going in that direction, and I think it had as much to do with the community support surrounding the issue that was kind of brought into place by putting this out there. I think it had as much to do with that as it did to do with the fact that they're women and they felt like they had to do that. I think it was like, this is maybe what they want because this is what their passion is, So like,
did you see a difference in that flavor between the kind of American filmmakers versus the international filmmakers?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would say we did.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
And how did that break down?
I think the American films were a little bit more centered around the idea of the main characters being women as the like a major driving plot point than the European films did, certainly.
Yeah. What I also love though about I think a majority of our submissions is that it wasn't so much about the fact that they're women.
Yeah.
It's the stories are just really great. And they have a lot of meat to them and they're told from a woman's perspective. And that's what I think we need more of. I mean, people do it every day for male characters, so why not women?
Yeah.
So now, I assume this sounds like it was a huge endeavor. Financially, did you guys find sponsors to help back you on this, or is this all you guys just pushing this?
Yeah, we have a couple big sponsors that have been very nice.
Yeah.
I thought I saw B&H was like listed on
the B&H thing is something we're doing. We're putting that up ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We reached out to a few different like film gear companies and things like that, but they're not involved in sponsorship actually. Nicole McDonald from the Sash Bag, which is a local company and an amazing product, has been really instrumental in international women's issues for a long time, and she was really excited to get on board and support. And you'll hear from her at the premiere event.
That's very cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Does she have much involvement in film, or is this kind of like
not really? Not aside from her company growing drastically because of video marketing.
She's an art lover, of course.
Yeah.
She really cares about dynamic stories being told.
Definitely.
And so she's a really great supporter.
Yeah.
And that's certainly needed.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have support
Yeah.
in the community like that.
Yeah, and she has an incredibly supportive community with her product. It's unlike anything that I've ever seen, and we've actually kind of tried to take some plays out of her playbook because she is so she's so forthcoming and engaging with people all over the U.S. and Canada. So, yeah.
How many registrations did you have, and how many people actually ended up turning in films?
We had 121 registrations. I think that there ended up being 91 submitted films. Some of the registrations were free registrations. We wanted to make it inclusive so that anyone could submit. They weren't eligible for the grand prize, but they could win the B&H. They could be screened at the premiere if they were eligible. And surprisingly, those were not surprisingly, but those were the films that had the biggest drop off with not following through and submitting.
The next question I would have, because I'm a film director and I'm always being told that we need more female directors in the business. How many female directors were there within the submissions?
A lot.
I would say probably 70%, 80%.
I would say more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always said that it's about normalizing equality. So it's a great time for that if you're a guy to collaborate with amazing women in your community and make a team together. It's not about one being better than the other. It's about the normalcy of having both.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you look at my career, I'm always surrounded with highly intelligent, motivated, inspirational women. I don't think I could do this business without their input. So, I'm hugely supportive of women taking the reins in whatever fashion that amounts to. It's just the argument always is about directors specifically, and directing is a particular passion. So, I'm always curious when there's a situation like this competition to see how many women stepped up to take on that role.
Yeah.
Most.
Yeah.
70% is good.
Yeah.
Good turnout.
At least 70. I would say it's probably closer to 80.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, we're sitting in these chairs watching these films over and over again and just getting blown away over and over again. So
how long, you said it was just a scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long were the scenes required to be? And you watched them multiple times. What was your criteria for narrowing them?
So they're 2 to 5 minutes as far as time length. And then also that is supplemented by a 1 to 3 minute pitch video.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd watch the pitch videos before the scenes, and we, as Hangar B, we are 1/4 of the judging team. So there's 3 other independent judges, both local and on the East Coast. And so the way we did it was we just blocked off
The whole
an entire week and did literally nothing but sit in these exact chairs and watch film after film after film after film. And we wrote really comprehensive notes, Kimmy's beautiful handwriting after all of them. And and then circled back and did it all over again. And we had a spreadsheet that was broken down by, everything, 5 points, 10 points, up to a scale of 100, and passed that along to all the other judges. And
was there anything in the content of these films that you found kind of surprising, like tonally or in the narratives that people were choosing? Were there any trends that you saw?
I guess it's not all entirely surprising, but a lot of the stories were based on the creator's life circumstances, or maybe an embellished version of, their own personal story, I think, or the community that they come from. a lot of them, which, like I said, it's not something that came out of left field, but I was just surprised how much of that we're not seeing already. And they're kind of using this competition as a catalyst to put those stories out there.
I wonder if that has to do with the fact that, Hollywood and things, they have a very formulaic idea of what is marketable. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of, those more autobiographical stories don't get picked up.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the opportunity to really push that.
Yeah. And stories that are just more intimate and not as blockbuster. Of course, the budget that was built up for this competition is, a very small indie budget that we're hoping to help out with the creation of these films. But the stories themselves seem really down to earth.
Yeah.
And just fully stocked with that representation that we were hoping for, told from just a really like intimate, honest point of view. You can only get from these women who supported their stories.
Were there any films that you had a visceral reaction to that you weren't expecting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a few. Definitely.
Yep.
Wow, okay. That's quite a look.
For different reasons too. And I four shot through my mind and I don't really want to speak too much about them until they're up on screen, but there's some pretty exciting stuff and some scary stuff and some funny stuff. And we definitely had that's the funnest week I've had at work ever in my life, I would say.
Some tears. I had some tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of laughter. Some are really funny. And some great laugh out loud moments and some really poignant stuff that I was not expecting. But I cry at everything. So, that's not very hard to do.
Well, let's get just a little bit of background on the two of you. Because, all these people have participated in your competition and they don't necessarily know who you are. So, Kimmy, why don't we start with you? What is your background within the arts?
I'm an actor. Primarily, I'm trying to dabble in a little bit of other production stuff. Trying to write. It's a very hard thing to do. And I'm really self-deprecating about it.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, okay. So you know what I mean. Tyler's really great at teaching me about filming, and we were just having a lesson today. It's something I really want to learn more about. But I come from a base of acting. I've done it since I was 6. Youth community theater was a huge thing in my hometown. Grew up doing
Where's your hometown?
El Dorado Hills, Northern California.
All right.
It's like 40 minutes east of Sacramento.
Okay.
And did it in high school, went to college at SDSU for theater performance. And when that was over, I felt kind of incomplete with my education. I love school. I love learning. And there's so many facets of acting that I just wanted to delve deeper into. And I started going to Los Angeles Acting Studio SD. Still go there, and I'm currently a teacher there. Now that's about a year that I've been doing that now. And through some mutual friends at the studio, I met Tyler. And when he opened Hangar B Studios, I said, hey, let me get in on that.
Well, first we worked on a really ridiculous project called Shyamalan Gone.
Yeah. We made a short about M. Night Shyamalan, which was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Wait, did it have a twist?
The premise of the short was basically that, someone heard on the radio that M. Night Shyamalan had passed away, and then half the people in the world remembered that M. Night Shyamalan was a person. The other half of the people, it was kind of like one of those Mandela effect things. And the other half of the people in the world are just like, what are you talking about? You're going crazy. And that was like his ultimate twist from some ethereal place, was that maybe he does or doesn't exist. but largely it was just ridiculous.
And now, how long ago was this that you made this film together?
It was like 3 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
How long have we known each other?
Yeah.
3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about 3 years now. So.
Yeah, I was in that place in North Park. I just moved over there, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through my Facebook Messenger the other day and ended up in the backside of all my business pages and realized that I have a message exchange with you, Tyler, from about 3 years ago.
Shut up.
Where I said, hey, we should have you on the podcast. And then you were like, yeah, definitely, let's do it. And then we never did.
And that would have been just around the time that you and I met, because we met about 3 years ago.
Just before Whitney came on board.
That's so funny because when you were in here, like a month ago or whatever, for the feature auditions, we were like, how come we never ran into each other? Like, no, we did. We just didn't make it happen. That's funny.
I just stumbled on this back page for the intellectuals page, and I looked and I was like, what is this message from Tyler? Like, I open it up, I'm like, oh yeah.
A project just fizzling out in Southern California.
That just went nowhere, But here you are now.
Yeah.
So a little bit late,
you,
sir. Like where'd you come from? Because
I
knew nothing of you, and then all of a sudden you were kind of everywhere.
Wow.
And and then there's this, and
now I'm blushing. I was having this conversation over a drink a few days ago. I feel like I kind of have lived a few different lives in the past 14 years. I grew up in Michigan, and I have always been fascinated with film and music, but I didn't really start exploring that beyond acoustic guitar guy in college,
I can see that.
Until moving out to California. I taught 7th grade math, was my first kind of career job in Arizona. That was the...
Sorry.
For the Arizona?
A lot of people say that, and I
7th grade math is one thing to be sorry for.
barring the pay scale, I would say I would take that over any position I have held to this date.
Oh, wow.
I really liked that job a lot, teaching 7th grade math. And I think ultimately I would like to go in that direction if I don't, end up being able to make feature film, narrative feature film for a living, which most of us who try this don't. I think I would like to end up going back to teaching someday, and maybe film was involved in that, maybe not. But
I've been pursuing this narrative feature film thing for 20 years, and I'm still struggling to make it as a living. So,
yeah.
So, the question how long you want to try.
So, in that frustration with the pay scale of being a 7th grade math teacher, I got a job bartending on Saturday nights at a Latino nightclub, and I found that I ended up making about as much money on Saturday night as I did Monday through Friday. So selfishness quickly took over from there, and I worked in hospitality for 10 years.
And this was still in Arizona?
Arizona to Colorado to North Carolina, back to Colorado, and then actually I moved out here to open the Lion's Share in Seaport Village, if you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's where I met the lead singer of the, I don't know if we can call it a band anymore, but we still play music together sometimes. But that's where I met him, and shooting our music videos is where I actually fell in love with the process.
Wait, what's the name of the band?
Writing and directing. The band is called Botanica Chango. Our music on Spotify is a little bit outdated right now. It's probably been 4 years since we put anything out, but we still get together and play. And that's kind of like my...
Music lives forever. So.
Yeah, that's kind of my artistic outlet now that film has become kind of tied in with, making a livelihood and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit less stressful to play music to me now. So yeah, shooting music videos is where I kind of fell in love with this thing. And I did a couple little things like that. And then Nicole, actually, our sponsor, was crazy enough to let me make these little brand videos for her. I mean, granted, it was cheap for her to do it too, but So
it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, we put together these little videos that were basically like, what do we call them? Trailer, some kind of, they're like movie trailers basically to sell her bag. So there was like a horror one and a rom-com and a zombie one. And I did these 4 little shorts, and it was part of this kind of series that she released, and her her bag fans really liked them. And then we ended up working on a Kickstarter video together that was successful, and that was good. And that kind of launched like my commercial film career. And then, as you're probably familiar with, the second that you get somewhat comfortable with that, it's like, okay, I like doing this to an extent, but I would love to make narrative film. And that's kind of where we're at with Hangar B and what I'm trying to do with Future Loon Productions as well, which is my commercial film company. So
dovetail it off to
the
next phase.
Yeah, eventually. I still like doing the commercial work. I'm shooting a Kickstarter video for her again at the end of this month, which I'm pretty excited about. The last one we did, she raised $1.2 million.
Oh, wow.
So
pretty good.
Yeah, we're going to shoot for the moon this time and see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Makes my endeavors in crowdfunding sound paltry.
I talked a little bit to her following, and I did not exaggerate it. It's bonkers. These women like live for her bag. It like literally changes their lives. So
I'm gonna have to look this thing up now. I'm like so curious.
It's a crossbody bag. You can just wear it all the time. It's like the design is just really pretty brilliant. And if you'll see her engagement, like look up her Facebook page, and she'll post a video being like, which of these colors do you like better? It'll have like 800 comments. And like long ones, not like thumbs ups, you know. It's
very
really
elaborate responses.
It's really, really, really impressive. So we're happy to have her in our corner.
Cool. So you've always kind of been in the arts. Mm-hmm. You've migrated into it from math.
It's always been in the back of my mind.
I'll argue that there is a lot of art in math too, and a lot of
and vice versa.
And art. So it's not that weird. You guys, how did you two you came together with a short film? How has your relationship developed since that short film to where you get to this point where you create this competition together?
That's a great question.
I'm a pretty loud feminist, I think. We were just having a conversation earlier today how, like, growing up, I always wanted to do the boy roles, you know, because they were written so much better. All the Shakespeare roles, I wanted to do that. And, you know, why aren't the women's roles as meaty, you know? And I've always advocated for that. I really admire Tyler's work and just the person that he is. And like I read an article, it was an ST Voyager article about Hangar B Studios opening up. And so I texted his partner, Alex, and I said, you know, I want in. I want to be a part of this. And we'd done a couple stuff, you know, before you guys opening up. And I don't know, we get along really well. Tyler's like one of my best friends and a really special mentor. And you gonna start crying? And I know that I have a lot to learn from him, and I really appreciate his respect for what I do too. I think we help each other learn a lot about this field. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Kimmy is, I would consider her to be a sister to me.
Oh.
If you're listening, Pearson, she's like a step below you, but she's there. Over the past couple of years, I've been increasingly fascinated with her ability to learn and grow at a pace that is insanity to me. And just judging from like where we've started and where we've gotten to with like these self-tape auditions and the directing process and the ability to note properly. I think it's just a matter of time before Kimmy is a successful director in her own right. And I know she's already had success with that, with plays. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes with film. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like, she's a person I want to have a beer with and hang out, you know, and it doesn't feel like work, you know, when the doors close to this place. We can talk about film and we can talk about acting and we can argue about Meisner and Daniel Day-Lewis, but it's all in so much fun.
Yeah.
It never feels like stressful or argumentative.
No.
And yeah, it's just lovely. She's a great person to have around.
Argument later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why wait for later?
Why wait for later? Yeah, let's start now. But before that, so one of the things that you said in the course of that about Kimmy becoming, a better and better director, what are the trajectories that you want? Because obviously you both wear a ton of hats. Ideal future, what are you doing in, like, say, 5 years?
I'm going to be like Paul Thomas Anderson, kind of.
Oh, is that what's going to happen? I'm going to be like Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Easy, Pat.
Yeah.
No, we've had this conversation a lot. I have this conversation a lot in the mirror, I think, too, which is like just figuring out what the thing is. Because I know that it's hard to spread your, like, talent and just want one of them to stick. I think that's a big part of what holds us back in San Diego as a film community is the lack of specialization.
Yeah,
and
I can agree with that.
So I'm really trying to, like, be honest with myself and figure out what that thing is, because I have so much passion for, like, holding a camera and editing and writing and directing, and, like, I want to figure out what that lane is. And I'd like to think it's writing and directing the things that I've written, but I'm not really sure right now.
I feel, and I love, thinking of myself as a perpetual student, and I feel really confident. I feel fairly confident about my abilities as an actor, but I know that I'm not where I want to be with that skill. And there's so much more for me to learn and read and figure out. And with that opens up other avenues. I really respect writing. It is not easy for me. And I dread always having to do it, even though Tyler's really good at encouraging me to do so. It's something that I want to get a lot better at, because that is, for me, when I look at a script, I'm like, that's it. That's the blueprint. It does so much. And I've always respected playwrights and screenplay writers for what they do. And I feel pretty,
You've grown a
wary
lot
about, the director path. I have directed a full-length play before, which was one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire life. And I would do it so differently now, too. So, I don't really know. I hope to... the goal is just to work, really, isn't that for everybody? Mm-hmm. I want to act. I love doing it. And I just want to, I've not ever been happier in my life than I am now. Every aspect of my life right now has to do with being creative. And that's really special. 2 years ago, I was working at an HOA, and that was miserable. So glad I'm not doing that now. It was a nice paycheck, but it was not fulfilling. So,
do you feel like you have to become a playwright?
No.
Or a screenwriter?
Absolutely not. No, I just really respect the craft.
Okay.
And part of me just wants to figure it out,
Try and understand how that all comes together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. I think people need to explore the various avenues of the business. And if you can kind of understand where things come from, not necessarily that you have to be proficient at any of these different parts of the craft, but the more you can kind of understand where everybody else's art is and how they struggle on their side to get to where you can then work with their screenplay, or you're now on set with somebody who's done production design for you. And if you can understand how hard they have to work to get to where they're at, I think it helps kind of motivate you to do the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
It fosters a respect for the collaboration.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The undergrad that I went to, they required, even if you were a tech major, you had to take at least one acting class, and vice versa. If you were an actor, you had to take at least one tech class.
Yeah.
So you would know it's like, hey.
They had that same rule at Baylor.
Yeah, we're both doing some hard work here.
Tyler actually came to audit an acting class. That's where we met.
We met before that.
We met before that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we did.
It's okay. We met on Facebook.
Yeah.
So.
Who knows?
But I think that that's something that needs to happen more.
We didn't meet before that because that's when you had that improv with Sophie. You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah, well, some people said, oh, Tyler, he saw you somewhere and thinks you're, really cool. I was like, who is that? And then you showed up in class. And Chris and I were doing that scene. And you called me up and you said you remind me of my ex.
No, it was Sophie reminded me of my ex and you reminded me of me.
Oh, is that what happened? It was so long ago, I can't remember.
Which is still pretty true.
Yeah, but that I really appreciate, directors or people behind the camera who even step into the other side and vice versa. It's just, you have to learn about that stuff. You have to learn to appreciate it. It's better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I often try to remind actors that, crew members were here 2 hours, 3 hours ahead of you.
Right.
And we'll be here 2 hours, 3 hours after you leave. And then I try to remind crew members, hey, these actors have been sitting around waiting for us for an hour and a half. And then we go, dance, monkey, dance, cry, and they're expected to immediately have emotion. So, we all have the struggles in the business. And while we may not see somebody else as working as hard as we feel like we are, it doesn't mean that they're not, and it's in their own unique capacity that they bring their energy and their talents. And I think, the more we can respect one another and all the various things that we have to do on set or, on a stage, the better off everybody is.
Yep.
And I think the better we all push each other to be. So
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's just probably the coolest part about the nature of storytelling, and both as the theatrical genre and the film, it is a group activity, you can't escape that. And if you do, then it doesn't end up as well as it could be if you were actually collaborating and playing together.
Yeah, there's the rare occasion where you can make a one-man play or a one-man short film. And those can be really fun, but by and large, this is the art form that requires you to work with other people, just kind of across the board. Unlike a photographer or a painter or sculptor who can kind of work in a void, like we have to collaborate. Which also means that our art's really expensive a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
And it can be emotional, and it can be dramatic, and it can be it can be tricky because
some of the worst arguments I've ever had in my life with my best friend were on film sets about the films. It's like we tear each other apart on set, about the disagreement, and then turn around and walk off and go to the bar together. And
exactly,
what are you doing? You were just pissed off at each other. Right. Yeah, but that was about the art. That's not about their friendship.
I've told Tyler so many times, like when they invent, the chip that can go in your head and download my thoughts so I can give it to you so you can figure out what I'm trying to talk about. Like, I'm getting it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part sometimes. It's just the communication. But at the end of the day, like, that's why it's so important to work with people that you like, I think. First and foremost, talented people are awesome. But talented people that you like, they're harder to find. And I would rather have someone who's still learning and good to be around, than the best person in town when it comes to hiring for a project.
You develop that shorthand too, where it's like, you do the thing that you did last week in the bar. That's what I need you to do right now on screen.
Exactly.
I tell everybody on our sets, like, no egos. Leave your egos at the door because we're all here to get this done together. And I've got enough ego for all of us. But I know I think it's really important. Like, you gotta kind of listen to the other people that you're working with.
Yeah, I've been really, really fortunate with this core group of people that we continue to make things with. I don't know when the last time, I guess last year's 48 was like the only real nightmare we've had in years. And that's just the nature of the thing that it is, right? Sometimes we had like a 20-person crew and it was like, it just got so far away from me. But every other thing, like we walk away with smiles every single time. And it seems like we have smiles while we're doing it.
Yeah. We've also learned how to work together and run a tighter ship. And we know how each other talks, so it's easier to understand, and that's just making our shoot so much quicker and more efficient and establishes more creativity.
That shorthand is really helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of projects and things like that, what do you guys, so you have the WOMAS coming up, which is when? What are the dates and times?
The local screening group, which is going to be all the San Diego and Los Angeles films that are not semifinalists, is going to be on August 5th. And the premiere event is August 15th. The premiere event is going to be at the Large House in Grossmont. And then we'll be moving over to the Intercontinental Hotel, who has been really, really, really gracious and supportive of this project to a degree that is
so amazing,
surreal. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this show. I would have just now.
Feel free.
Yeah. They've gone a long way to support the project. So they gave us the beautiful, beautiful ballroom that we're going to be presenting the awards at. And it has a harbor view, and it has like a 6,000 square foot terrace that's outdoor, and they're being very generous with some hotel rooms and stuff for our finalists as well. And so I can't thank them enough for that.
That's fantastic.
That's great. Yeah. And right now I assume that is your primary focus, but do you have other things when all of that craziness has settled?
Yeah, we've peppered in some things here and there. We've put so many fucking sticky notes on the calendar. Thank you. That before we realize how ambitious this thing that we took on actually was, and this Brian Smith, who's the founder of UGG, has this notion that like to be a successful entrepreneur, there has to be like this high degree of ignorance, because if you knew what it was that you were doing, you wouldn't have started, right? And he has this book called The Birth of a Brand, where he walks you kind of through the process of like where you're at with all that stuff, and that really resonates, especially with this, because we're like, oh my, this is. But we already had so much stuff in the works and on the calendar that it's just like, a lot of 70-hour weeks and stressful times, and a really nice girlfriend that puts up with it.
So what is on your docket for after WOMAS wraps up? I can't read those sticky notes from this distance.
I don't think they go that much far past August.
Yeah, August.
Right now.
Yeah, we're just trying to get to the finish line right now. But right after August, we've been working on a psychological thriller called Mindframe. That is going to be, we're going to be wrapping principal photography on that actually Thursday. No, not wrapping, because we have one more shoot after that. But we're close to wrapping principal photography on that.
We have like one more scene after Thursday.
We've been working on that since last January. So that's been like a kind of a 16, 17 month long thing that we've been putting together. But that trailer is online, and that should be in a theater locally in October, I'll say. Subject to change, obviously. But that's the goal. Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you guys see a future for WOMAS? Will it be a competition that continues annually or every other year? Or?
Yep.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be an annual thing. we've talked about rotating the hosting city, so it's not a San Diego thing, and it belongs to everyone, and not just going straight to LA or New York, hitting some markets that are kind of in between, and really growing it to the point where eventually, hopefully, all the cities, not all the cities, but a fair amount of cities have local producers similar to like what Robin and Dwayne do for the 48 here. That way, everyone who submits their films could hopefully see a local screening of what they got going on, somewhere within driving distance or something like that. So yeah, definitely next year as well.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of filmmakers who, struggle to find a voice and find a way to get seen, like, thank you guys so much for stepping up and doing something like this and creating a platform specifically that women get the chance to kind of say, hey, I've got something to say as well. I think it's fantastic and
thank you.
Wonderful that it's a couple of people in our own backyard who made that effort. So
yeah, I don't know if we could have started it anywhere else. Really, the San Diego film community is pretty rare in a lot of ways. I think we've got things to work on, but one thing we don't have to work on is everyone showing up, and like kind of supporting and maybe in their own ways sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely very interconnected, and they've shown a lot of support.
Well, and I think there's a lot of support for the female filmmakers here in town.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like for me, it's not even an issue. Like, we work together constantly and don't even think twice about, who the people are that I would invite out. Like most of them are women at the very top of my list. So.
And we have quite a lot of female directors. As I'm thinking about different events we've been to, I'm like, oh yeah, director.
Yeah, we got quite a few. So yeah, it's a good city for birthing something like this.
Yeah.
But it still takes people with vision and an ability to not see how much crazy there is involved in doing it. So thank you for being blind.
It is great. It's been an incredible learning experience, and like we already are feeling like so enriched by it, and we just can't wait to really kind of hand that dream over to whoever we end up handing that dream over to. And then there's so many women that have came out, and this was kind of, something that I had hoped from the very beginning, is that, you enter this competition and you end up actually shooting a scene from something you maybe been thinking about shooting, and you put together a pitch video, and at the end of the day, if you lose the competition,
you still have
you have a pitch video, you started making your movie, you've put together a team, you've got the ball rolling, so it would just be so lovely to see a dozen or two of these films just get made anyways, and
because they've essentially put everything they need to do a
Kickstarter, a pitch video. Yeah. So that's been really cool. And we've had a lot of these filmmakers kind of acknowledging that, and even some of the filmmakers that were not selected as semifinalists by the judging panel, which was so hard because there were some good films that were unfortunately left out just because of the level that everyone rose to. And even of those filmmakers, we've had so many of them emailing us and just thanking us for the opportunity and really just ready to support whoever wins. And
I'm really glad
so
to hear that.
Damn cool.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to hear that, because that's not been my experience the last couple of years with some other things that I've been involved in.
Yeah. We only got one negative email on this whole thing, and I'm not going to go into that, but that's really, it's really kind of surprising, and I think everyone's really helped to foster that environment, because that's by design. It was this is a collaborative competition.
Yeah,
half the money you put in is going to the winners. You're supporting each other. So, but they've taken it and really ran with it, and we're lucky to have had that experience.
Well, thank you guys for sitting and chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming,
sharing your process and your history a little bit. It's really great, and Hangar B is like open to people to rent space and
Yeah,
do whatever,
totally.
right?
So we do space rentals. We do produce, narrative films if anybody's looking for things like that. We have different kind of day rates and things like that for that. We do tons of self-taping services to send auditions up to LA, so you don't have to get in your car or use your iPhone. And headshots and all kinds of actor-related services. Basically, our thought process with putting that side of things together was like, there's so many great acting coaches in town. Kimmy's teacher, Andrew, Benny being one of them, who I hold in really high regard. And like, there's so many great actors, and like, we wanted to help provide them with all the other stuff besides being a great actor that you need to be successful. And I know there's a couple of places like this in Los Angeles, so it seems like it was time to do something like that here.
That's great. What's the website for Hangar B?
It's www.hangarbstudios.com. The Hanger is with the HANGAR.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
And,
Thank you.
Whitney.
Thank you.
This is fun.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming out and being up here for this too.
Yeah.
I don't think Whitney ever gets enough credit for all the schlepping around that she does to do these interviews with me.
You do a lot of schlepping?
I'm schlepping everywhere anyway, so.
But I do want to acknowledge
Aw, thanks,
how
David.
much effort you put into doing all this too. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. It was really enjoyable getting to know you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do it
Until
again
next
soon.
time, guys. This is the Intellectual Podcast. I'm Dave Dawson,
I'm Whitney Wegman-Wood.
and we've been sitting with.
Tyler French.
And Kimmy Weinberger.
All right, guys. We'll catch you later. We'll catch you later.
Okay.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching Intellectual Podcast with your ears.